Hi, my name's Diane, and I am the Director of Filmmaker Engagement for the Portland Film Festival. Thank you for joining us today for our workshop on music and activism in film. Today with me, we have Scott Homan, the Director of Witness Underground, and AJ Wone, the Director of DiaTribe, From the Village to the Street. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you.
I'm going to please just take a minute to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your film.
All right, I'll go first. My film is Witness Underground. I'm Scott Homan. I directed it. I did basically everything except story editing. I hired a story editor. The film is about a music scene that emerges inside of a cult, and the bond that the people create or have through this music scene is 200, 300, 400 kids, something like that, over a period of like 14 years, becomes this very strong bond that keeps them together as people start to leave their religion for various reasons or get kicked out. And that's really rare to like have a trend communication across that boundary, and it became this sort of exit conduit for so many of the artists at the heart of the scene. How about you, AJ?
Okay, my documentary is about the birth of hip hop as it originated from early Africa, but it's told from the perspective of a master drummer, Obo Adi, who said that he saw breakdancing in the 30s and 40s in Accra. And I questioned that because I was taught and programmed to believe that hip hop originated from the Bronx in the early 80s. So in my exploration in my relationship with Obo, as we started to talk about everything aside from music and art, where we started to talk about our personal histories, I started to get more engaged with what he wanted to do with this project, because DiaTribe is the title of a musical stage production. And he passed away prior to us being able to really carve out what the true definition of what it was. So that's primarily what the basis of what DiaTribe is, the documentary.
I love that. I didn't quite remember that bit of information from the film, that he, maybe you didn't put it in the film, but that he saw breakdancing or something similar to breakdancing in the 30s. That's 90 years ago.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right.
And
Right.
I would be fascinated too. It's really interesting how you dove in and explored that. I was blown away. Like, I didn't notice this in the film exactly, but at the credits, there's like over 30 or 40 countries represented in dance throughout your film.
54.
54. Okay.
Right.
Amazing.
Right. 54. Yeah.
Like all of Africa almost.
That's right. That's right.
Amazing.
Absolutely. I have a nonprofit called the Department of Afro-American Research, Arts, and Culture, and we've collected the largest digital collection of Black media. So we have films dating back to the race film era of the 20s and 30s. And I went into our archive and I said, wait a minute. Obo said there was breakdance and they were spinning on their head in the sand in the Accra coastline. In the 1930s, I see the Berry brothers, the Nicholas brothers, John Bubbles. Look at this. They're spinning on their back right here. What is this? I mean, he was right.
Wow.
So I said, let me incorporate this within the first 5 minutes to really get the folks locked in to the history that we're going to tell, with the grand scheme and scope of the documentary is all about. And that's one of the most talked about sections of the documentary, because
it's a hell of a montage right there. I can't imagine bringing in like 70 years, 80 years of film, all those different formats and
right.
quality levels, but it's really fun to watch.
Exactly. That was the challenge. So what I want to ask you about is, we're both writers, producers, directors. I did edit. You hired an editor. I cut my teeth there. I've been editing since I was 10 years old with 2 VCRs. So I'm not going to act like I just learned how to do it yesterday.
Yeah.
But talk about the challenges of what you had to deal with in terms of the independent production of doing everything yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. I did edit a lot, and we had a high school program in Wisconsin. We had really good arts programs back in the 90s.
Mhm.
So we were editing, we had like nice editing decks actually in high school, and we had like a live TV studio, and we would make documentaries and did all kinds of fun stuff.
Lucky
Um,
you.
yeah, it was really fun to be experimental in that way, and made like like art films and music videos and all kinds of stuff. Um, but in terms of this project, so I got like 240p video from like a hand cam, like shoulder cam, like from B-rated homemade movies and stuff. From I
Right.
got kind of an archive of all these music videos and performance videos that were made by this very small crew in Minneapolis back in the 90s. Um, and then shooting some stuff in 4K, so that's already four times bigger than standard definition. And this my standard definition
Right.
is already four times larger files or visually than four times smaller than high def. So it's like eight times bigger visually. It's like a tiny little square in the screen of 4K.
Right.
So
Right.
I ended up deciding to shoot in 1080p just to like because it was like only four times bigger. But anyway, so yeah, there's definitely challenges there to like make something look acceptable and get the story across without it being like super pixelated and ugly.
Right.
So there's that. Yeah, and the sound quality on that old footage wasn't exactly perfect, so had to do a lot of cleanup. But I did hire a story editor, and I think she really made the film something watchable and engaging. And then I did a lot of the editing, though. We're both editing, but I took her core story and then layered on a lot of different archival footage. And I did all the audio mixing myself. And I mean, I'd spend like, I think I went through the film four times doing audio mix, and like I'd learn a new trick, and I'd be like, I have to do the whole film again to add this like one thing. And I was using filters that I ended up realizing like didn't sound that great in the end. It didn't sound as professional as I'd like the film to be. So I had to go back and
Right.
delete all of those filters one clip at a time. Because like there's no like there's a lot of things I wish Premiere did,
Right.
but that was not one of them. And then I had to go back and like put on the effects I wanted, and it was just a labor of absolute love. And I drank a lot of whiskey and made it happen.
Yeah, see, that's the same thing that happened to me. I woke up one morning, December 16th, and I told him that I would take care of it. He asked me, well, he tells me on camera, you'll write this. And I said, right, I'll take care of it. I thought it was such a cool thing that I said I'd take care of it. And the battery turned off. I said, oh, this is so cinematic.
Yeah,
But eight
I love
years
that.
had 8 years had passed and I didn't take care of it. And it's something just, I guess it was him. I guess his spirit woke me up and said, yo, you got to go and do this right now. I said, well, what about my audio? This is what the workshop is right about, ladies and gentlemen. What about the audio? I don't have a studio. I don't have a budget. I went into the bathroom. Excuse me. Went into the bathroom with this right here, the tools of the trade, with this
Oh yeah,
Zoom recorder.
I have the upgraded one of that, but it's similar idea, same
Of
preamps,
course, you
same
have the
quality.
upgraded version. Of course, you have
No,
everything you have is
that's the
upgraded.
four. I got the five, but they're both
Oh,
6 years old, so
right, right, right.
they
So
work great.
I go into the bathroom. I force my children to go to sleep. I record, and I said, "Oh yeah, this is guerrilla filmmaking. This is the way we
Yeah,
do it right here."
yeah.
And then,
Your voiceover sounded great, actually. I noticed that in the film.
okay, so let me tell
It
you.
worked.
So I go to the first film festival is the Pan African Film Festival. So this is a local film festival, very big. It's like a homecoming for me. This was the greatest since Portland, right? So I go in and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to tell them this story about the guerrilla filmmaking, being in the bathroom floor. I didn't test out the audio for theater speakers, and
Oh,
the popping and the hissing was the worst ever. I was so embarrassed. My face was red. I
oh
said,
no.
"Oh my goodness, nobody's gonna like this. This is crap right here. This is terrible." And people still were excited. They were very happy, although the audio was bad. And I forced people to say, "Hey, but the audio was bad, wasn't it? Don't lie to me. Tell me that the audio was bad." I ended up having to change that audio, Scott. I had, and what's been happening this whole 2021 is I keep adding different things because I feel there's more that needs to be added to it. And music became the next thing. So I want to ask you a question about the activism in Witness Underground. What role did activism play in the documentary?
So my big motivation for making this film is that I went through the same experience that the people in the film went through. Theirs is a little bit more dramatic and a little bit more intense than mine, but all of us have one shared thing in common, and that's true of everyone in the film and everyone who's been in this religion. The religion in question is Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses, once you leave or get kicked out, you never talk to your family again for the rest of your life. And usually there are some exceptions to that, and it happens to be usually a funeral or something. You don't get invited to weddings. You don't get invited to big events, like the complete wall. And that's incredibly, I mean, it's in some countries it's considered a human rights violation. And in some countries, this religion is banned, including Russia. This religion is completely banned for this practice. And they're in every country in the world, particularly where there's Christianity. But anyway, so going through that experience of shunning made me want to do something about it. So the story deals with that topic and how once these different people in the film exit, how they're treated or mistreated, and this is going 15 years later, and there's still no connection to their family, which is true of me as well. Like haven't spoken to my family without like me showing up unannounced to them, and then it's like a huge dramatic problem where they like lock doors. So anyway, so that's a whole thing, and that's my big motivation. But I want to tell it in not just a factual way or like an educational way. I want to do it through art and music, because I feel like the music they were making in the religion and the music they're making on the outside of the religion really helps for the audience to connect the dots emotionally. It's not just there's a little bit of education pieces in my film, but it's only what's needed to keep the story moving forward. Because education films are a little bit dry and boring usually. And there's a lot of content on this religion and other similar religions that really just harp on they're pointing a finger at the religion and saying, this is terrible, and look at how these people are sad. This is terrible, look how these people are sad. And that's just a repeated format. And my film really opens the door to what the culture is like through the eyes of these artists on the inside of the religion. And they're giving commentary about their lives and that past experience. And then you go through these exits, and then we get to see them playing music and growing as artists on the outside. So the music is the through line throughout the whole film.
And that's music from Ryan Sutter.
That's right. Yeah, Ryan Sutter.
Nuclear Gopher.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the name of the music production studio, they put out like 30 albums of like really high end, like high quality production of these different bands over a period of 16 or 17 years. And Nuclear Gopher Productions. Actually, he's through this film, he's like rebooting the studio. So it's like there's this like next life to Nuclear Gopher, which is really exciting. We're doing a big concert actually next week, which is really exciting. Like we've been planning it for a year.
Where, out here?
Out in Minneapolis, actually.
Okay.
So I'm flying back for that.
So, excuse me for saying out here. Like everybody's supposed to know.
Okay, we live down the street from each other.
Right.
Culver City and Koreatown.
Koreatown. Right. So what happened with DiaTribe, I enjoyed the music of DiaTribe, but there was nothing else after that. So it was 42 minutes of great music. And I said, I sure would like to have a soundtrack with this, but what do I do? Do I play instruments? Yes and
you
no.
recorded the DiaTribe performance. You were there to record it, right?
I was there. Well, I had Open Signal, which is Portland Community Media. They offered to do it, and they had their whole crew there. I was the director, sitting in the back with the trench coat, waiting for everybody to mess up, So I was back there, and they did record it. The second time, what is that? Is that?
It's not me. There's a buzzing sound. Oh, I think it just ended.
Well, I'm glad we're going to cut that off then. That's good.
This is the kind of challenge you have when you're making an indie film. Like, how do you get rid of that buzzing sound?
Right. So what ended up happening as of September 14th, Oboe passed on September 13th, 2012. And I'll tell you, Scott, a week prior is when, just like December 16th, when I woke up and I was tapped by the spirit of Oboe and Janet Scroggins and their memory, a lot of the musical inspirations in Portland, Oregon, that were giants in the Pacific Northwest, I just said, let me just make one. Let me make a soundtrack. So within 7 days, I released the first volume, 17 tracks for DiaTribe, From the Village to the Street, most of which I produced. I recorded through spoken word, hip hop. I bought myself. This is the demonstration portion of the. Let's wait for the
siren.
The siren to go.
It'll go by my house in a minute here.
Right. Right. So this is the demonstration portion, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. If you're an independent filmmaker, you're always going to be hampered by a budget, and you're always going to be hampered by the big dreams of who you want to have associated with your film. I'd love to have a music director that's whoever. Guess what? You're not going to get that person because they don't know who you are. You're an independent. Mm-hmm. So you have to make investments in yourself. So I bought a steel tongue drum. Got that. I said, okay, let me record something on that. Then I got myself a thumb piano. Let me figure out. And then I said, wait a minute. I don't want to be limited. So let me get myself my acoustic and start working on that. Got a piano, got a digital audio workstation, an Akai MPC Live, and I went ahead and it's going to be a lot of editing here. It's going to be a lot of editing.
I like the suspense of not knowing what you're grabbing next.
It's not enough time in the day. So what I did was I told the story of Oboe Adi September 14th. And then I said, well, there's one story that's missing here. What about my personal story? All my journey through music, growing up on Soul Train, my mother dancing on Soul Train in the 70s, put me right in the front row. What about my obsession with rhythm, my obsession with soul? I need to tell my story. So 2 weeks ago, I released 15 more tracks from my perspective. So now DiaTribe has 32 tracks of original music that tells both my story and Oboe's. And this is going to create a musical stage production that ultimately we'd like to get to Broadway.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream there.
I liked all of your writing. I thought your voiceover and what you had to say, it wasn't about you, and it was kept the story moving forward, and it brought some depth. It was good. And I thought the quality of that was like high. So your bathroom audio acoustics are spot on. I didn't notice maybe it's just because it blends so well that you were playing music. Like it didn't come to my mind that was what was like you were laying your own music in there.
No, my music is not in there.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No.
But you were playing some music.
This is all original. No, this is all original music that I just produced. I just wrote it. I wrote all these tracks in maybe 3 weeks' time, 2 albums.
It's in the film. Or it's not in the film?
It's not in the film.
It's not in the film. Okay,
some of the music in the film is from the live performance on stage.
Yeah, that's what came through. That's what I recall. Yeah.
Right. See, and the other thirst that never happened was that I never got a chance to get on stage with Oboe. Oboe knew I did something, but he didn't really know, and he really loved hip hop. Mm-hmm. So that was the thing. He wanted to have hip hop incorporated into his traditional drumming and dance set from a crop. And he said, how do we combine the young artists of today, because he always wanted to connect with, he was collaborating with Pink Martini, Kronos Quartet, Eddie Harris. He always wanted to engage what he was doing, which was high life. That was his style of drumming. He wanted to put that in there, and um, he was just a universal cat. He was a universal cat that wanted to jam with everybody and everything. So he trusted me to gather people from the Pacific Northwest, all the dancers and the drummers, and we even had a DJ Grimrock. And with that, it started to take off completely, and it had a world of its own, because that's what he wanted to do. And 3 months later, he was taken away.
Wow. Besides honoring, is it Obo?
Obo Adi.
Besides honoring Obo Adi, what other form of activism would you say that your film tries to convey?
Well, I sat down with him the day that the batteries went out, and I said, here are the ideas of the title, Beat Science. What do you think of that? He said, oh, it's good. It's good. But what about Trump Talk? Trump Talk. What DiaTribe? He said, why? Why call it DiaTribe? And I said, Obo, we Blacks here in America and those born on the continent in Africa, there might be no greater tension or no greater preconception, these notions between Africa and America. We've been programmed to believe that everybody in Africa is starving and fighting at war all the time. And here in America, everyone here that's Black in America are whining and complaining about all this decadence that an African family would dream of having. So I said, let's call DiaTribe, which is a negative word, which means a vicious verbal attack, when somebody goes on something that they really feel strongly about. And let's turn and flip this word into something more significant to speak for the activism in bridging the gap between the stereotypes between Africa and America. And let's make sure that if there's one common narrative that we get together on, it's rhythm. That's one thing we're not going to have a fight about, because it's ingrained. It's something that's innate. It's within us. So what you think about DiaTribe? He said, I like that. I like that. And I said, well, that's it. Let's go with it. DiaTribe, from the village to the streets. So the activism is more of a humanity thing, and it's just bridging Africa and America, getting folks together. The ultimate goal with that is not just a Broadway stage production, but to have some form of a family reunion, like a 2-month Woodstock, where we trade the 54 nations. They come to the 50 states, and we have a trading of art and science and philosophy that comes from the rhythm. We can dance all day, but how are we going to be able to help install water systems? How do we take some of the technology that we have in America with solar technology and incorporate that on the continent?
Yeah.
You see, we have a lot of abundant resources here. How do we do it? So if we're going to start through dancing and drumming and package it that way and ultimately get over there, then that's the activism there. I think it's a pretty strong statement to make.
Do you feel like there's a barrier, like a disconnect between the diaspora of African communities and African continent itself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what the big issue is. There's so much of a conflict through language, culture, and beliefs. It's pretty chaotic. It's chaotic on both sides here in America, but more so on the continent. So it's going to be a struggle, because there's some people that are in power that are not for the nation that they're presiding over or dictating.
I've seen a big trend. I mean, when there's colonialism with Europe in hundreds of years ago, but now we see the same thing happening with Chinese nation, the nation of China, like coming in and extracting resources. I haven't been following it that closely, but what else is going on there that is not looking great? Like, you want Americans to help build up or help support these different communities in rural areas in Africa.
Right. We're having a tough time helping our Americans here, our own. That's been going on for a few centuries here in America.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's definitely a political statement that's underlying with this documentary that is way more significantly more difficult than what the entertainment aspect is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but everything's getting colonialized and getting colonized and gentrified everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll figure out something.
Yeah.
You're gonna help too.
I'm happy to. I do feel like music has this incredible power to humanize, and I don't know what everyone's perspectives on hip hop are, or different African centric art forms, but it's something. I think your film does an incredible job of bringing like the huge breadth and wide breadth of art forms and dance, music, and performance art to just make it like highlights it in this beautiful way that's just, it's incredibly impressive. Your film is impressive. Also, the art forms across the century are very impressive.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's the next step for Witness Underground? What are we doing? What's the release date?
So it's out now in Portland, and then it'll be another 2 more film festivals coming up next week at Sound Unseen in Minneapolis in person, which is a really like huge deal for us. We're throwing a concert for it.
Wow, so that's local.
Yeah, in person, like all the bands are playing live. They haven't played for years.
Crazy.
And we're filming it, so we're kind of taking this opportunity to make, like, we got a lighting director and a creative director. They're trying to make a separate like visual scene for every single song. And there's 3 bands, so like Ryan Sutter's original music, Puff Puff, which is Cindy's original music, and then High TV, which is Eric and Cindy. It's their band they did with Chad in the film. All 3 of them are in this band High TV. It's like really highlighted all throughout. Like at the beginning is their opening. It's who opens the film, and then at the end you sort of see the rise of High TV as they're like really getting strong as artists.
What about Chloe?
They're going to do a couple Chloe covers. Yeah.
Okay.
Chloe covers, and then the Lavone, which is Ryan and Rhett's first band. There's a couple songs they're going to cover from the Lavone, which is really exciting. So we're going to film that and make that like the backbone of the next maybe feature film, or it might just be like small pieces that we put out just to help support their future music or their present day music.
Beautiful, because they're having a second life now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are having a second life now, but it's actually saying that's interesting because like leaving the religion, and then they created this art after. A lot of the art that's like that's going to be at the show is that they made post religion or going through their exit process, but the albums and recordings came out after that. But now that was quite a long time ago. That's like 10 years ago or more. So these bands some of them have been going on, and a couple of them haven't played for like 6 or 8 years. So having them play again is almost like a second life for the band that the film is sort of helping create. It's like opening this big door, and the film festival is like, hey, your film's amazing. We want to highlight the artists. Would you invite all the artists? Are they willing to play live? We want to throw a concert for them because we think your film exemplifies like the local art scene, and we want to like put it on this pedestal and make it a marquee event. So that's super exciting for us. And then we're trying to make something out of it, so it has a life beyond just Friday night next week on November 12th.
Right. I've got a lot of respect for you as a filmmaker, because what you've had to deal with in jumping out of something and then being treated a specific way. There's a connection and a correlation with what what our experience is over here with with Obo Adi, with myself as an artist, in growing up in Portland and wanting to escape and run out of there and come back home to LA and having to deal with certain adversities, tremendous adversity that I won't get into. But for you to be able to do this and be out on the other side and then to turn around and give Nuclear Gopher a boost and bring them back into prominence from uh, their
From the
extraction.
archive.
Yeah. From their extraction, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So
Thank you.
I honor you. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope it goes somewhere, and I think it really will. Like Ryan and I have become good friends through this film. We met actually in the making of the film,
Mm.
and he really wants to do something. So I don't really like to make films about artists that are. I don't want to make a. I don't want to film a show that's the last show of a band.
Right.
I want to film a show of a band that's up and coming or has who actually wants to take it forward. And I feel like at least with Nuclear Gopher as a studio and with Ryan and his music, like he's got ambition to make something. And I hope that's true of the other bands that are playing. I'm not big on like one-off reunion shows or like last shows, but you know, it's going to be special.
Right,
anyways.
right.
But yeah, I don't really know how to make that a backbone of another film, but I'm definitely interested in giving it a shot. As long as I don't have to do everything myself. I've learned that from this film. I want at least one more person who cares.
At least one.
Yeah.
Just one more person that cares. That's it. That's all we need. Just that one person.
I'm sure like this took like from filming it to finishing editing, it's been 3 years. And now I guess it's 3.5 at this point. So it's like quite a slog. And as much as I love it, it's like, it's really exhausting. And I think that having a small team is crucial to any ambitious project like this, like a producer, director, and you know, there's 100 other roles that people could take, but the big ones are, you know, five or so roles that are like really important to carry the torch and keep people motivated. And
As a matter of fact, I need that story editor's number because, I need to have a story editor. One film festival organizer said, it seems to me that you're a little bit too close to the subject. And I got so personal with it. I said, what is she talking about?
someone told me the exact same thing, and it bugged the shit out of me.
Seems like you're a little bit, it's clear that you have respect for Obo. You seem to be a little bit too close. How does it seem that way? It was the
Maybe
fact
it's better
that
that way. Maybe it's better.
Well, I did everything. This is what happened when you do everything yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
What was the motivation for you to get that archive of content? I mean, not archive. Sorry, like to build with the foundation, bring in all this media. It's amazing that you are involved in that or in charge of that. And you have to make a film if you have that, right? Someone has to.
A lot of this work, some is in the public domain. In the race film era of the 20s and 30s, you had filmmakers Spencer Williams, Oscar Michaud, that were very prominent. They had Black crew, Black cast, Black stories. And unfortunately, there are out of the, I think, 240 films in a 20-year period, more than 3/4 of them have been destroyed. And some of which that are still available, we gained access to them. It's about preservation. It's about taking a lost art, because a lot of us are familiar with Blaxploitation in the 70s, and that's more of an exploitative caricature of Black living and Black lives. But there was a lot of independence in there as well, non-compromising masculinity, and you have a lot of kick-ass stories. But in the 20s and 30s, you had a whole different realm of pride and independence that you don't see. And there's danger in that, especially if you're busy programming the minds of people, what you normally see with big budgeted films. You're just trying to push and present a mindset, or a vision that everybody can follow. But when you see things that you haven't seen before, where everybody in the cast is in a three-piece suit and the women are in dresses and they're just hey man, I got whatever they're saying, like, whatever's going on. There's such class and there's such a pride associated with it. And after we got all the blaxploitation films, me and my friend JD, Dr. Spinks, who's a professor in North Carolina, NCANT, he said, let's go back. Let's go to the 50s. Let's go to the 40s. Let's go to the 30s. I said, let's go as far back as we can go. Mm-hmm. And there's a proverb, Sankofa, which is go back and get it. You know, we look back and we go after the things that have been lost, the things that were owed us, or the things, you know, the dues that weren't paid, we go back. So that with that Sankofa spirit, that was the inspiration behind going and getting all this content, because you don't see it anywhere. A lot of it is locked up by Warner Brothers. They've buried a lot of that stuff. They say, yeah, we got it over here. Oh, remember in the film when there were 3 men who jumped from a 20-foot banister
onto a dance floor?
Yeah,
that was outrageous. I can't believe that they survived that. They looked like they were fine, but
it doesn't matter how many times I see it. I'm still amazed.
Yeah,
that's owned by the Warner Film Archive, and you saw that in the lower left-hand corner, the watermark there. And I said, it's going to cost an arm and a leg to get that footage, because it seems as if there's an intentional burying of this kind of visual, because you'd be hard pressed to see anybody that would try to jump off of a banister, much less 3 people over a band
perfectly in time,
and then get up and do another front flip and grab their.
He lands and they all land into the splits,
right,
and then bounce up. Yeah,
they bounce
it's amazing.
Up. And they still had their hamstrings.
Yeah.
Those were 6 hamstrings that could have been destroyed. So for a 12-year-old to see that, a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, the level of inspiration that they get, the level of wanting to say, man, I want to do that, be it play the instrument, design the stick, you know, design the clothes, or become a dancer, you see that and it gives you a little bit more of a thing. Now, if you've never seen it before, you don't have a thought about that. Right. So that's the purpose of collecting and preserving lost art.
Was there a hassle with Warner Brothers? Is there an issue with you using that?
No, I just used it. I'll deal with them when they come to me. If they give me a cease and desist, bring it to me. I'd like to sit down with them anyway, so this was my calling card.
Let me know how that works.
Give me the rest of that stuff that you got in there too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's a second film, huh? Do you have any other ideas for making more content like this?
I'd like to have this be a docu-series and go to, we still have this COVID thing going on, and it's pretty brutal. Who knows when it'll end, but I'd like for it to be a travel show where I go to the nations and figure out what the history of their local dances are, and connect and correlate with the local dances that are in the urban communities here in America, and say, okay, if it wasn't for the foo-foo over here, that's where the Running Man came, you know, right there. So that's ultimately the deal of what I want to do, to extend that. And of course, with the soundtrack, ultimately create that, build a songbook for the stage production, and push that bad boy to Broadway.
Yeah, it's amazing. I like the idea of traveling with it. I was thinking about doing the same thing with my film, because there's Jehovah's Witnesses in every major city. I mean, they're everywhere, unfortunately, but there's just as many former Jehovah's Witnesses everywhere. And just to like make something that celebrates their strange background, not just harping on it and saying like your background's sucked and you should be sad for the rest of your life. It's like most films do that. This is like, hey, like we came from a weird place, yes, and then you can make art about it and look at some people who did that. Like, and it's sort of a suicide prevention angle too, because a lot of people get out of this thing, they feel lost, and so they just end it. and I wanted to make this, have this sort of, it gets better, have a dialogue, let's communicate, like break down the barrier that's
Right.
there. And
Right.
if the people in religion aren't willing to do that, at least we can do that with each other. And it'd be cool to tour with the film, go around and just have like a theatrical thing, and maybe like a community, like a big Q&A, and maybe an after party. And
Right.
there's actually a lot of
And get
Jehovah's
that
Witness.
whiskey.
Yeah, definitely bring some bottles of whiskey. There's a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witness that have become artists or were artists and like actually pursued it, and they've been reaching out to me. So we have a little podcast we've been doing. We bring on that Ryan and I from the film are doing. And last week we brought on an artist from here in LA that we met. He's from out east, but he lives here. Wesley David Music.
What's the name of the podcast?
Witness Underground Podcast. Just
Oh,
keeping it simple.
okay. Yeah, keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Is it available on all streaming platforms?
Unfortunately, not yet. It's on YouTube for now. Once I'm done with the film festival run, I'll have more time to like build something else. I'm still building this film thing. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so we're bringing on artists, and there's artists from like Australia that have reached out. There's music scenes in Brisbane and Sydney. There was music scene in Pennsylvania. There was music scene in Pacific Northwest and Portland. That was within the religion, inside the religion.
Right.
I knew some artists in Seattle when I was a witness. I lived there for a while. So there's like these things keep coming out of the woodwork on Reddit and other places that reach out to me, and there's there's a lot of artists. So I feel like there's a life here for this project to keep going, and
Definitely.
that feels good.
Definitely.
That it wasn't just a one-off crazy idea.
Right.
There's actually a community that's building out of this, and I think that's valuable to keep
Right.
it going.
I can't wait to see the travel log. It's going to be a great show.
You mean what we're filming in Minneapolis?
No, I'm talking about once the film festival circuit is done, you have 2 more film festivals. And once you can really say, okay, we did some things here. Now let's put more legs on it. And that's where you're going to come up with that travel log. So it's going to be Witness Underground. We're going to watch you go state to state, country to country.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Tour. The tour.
Right.
Yeah, I want that to happen. That sounds fun.
Right. I'm the associate producer, so I'm getting
All right.
credit. I just came up with it. Diane, mark it.
It's public now.
Right. It's public.
Yeah, maybe we do a joint tour for a couple cities and see how it goes.
Absolutely.
There's actually quite a few
DiaTribe Underground.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few rappers. Like DMX was a Jehovah's Witness. There's Childish Gambino grew up Jehovah's Witness.
Michael Jackson.
The whole Jackson family were witnesses. The Wayans brothers have some connection. Like there's Jehovah's Witnesses are like pretty equally defined between in sort of demographics. There's like it's like 30% Latino, 30% Black, 30% white, at least in this country or North America. I don't know about other countries, but so
Michael Jackson and Prince, actually.
Yeah, Prince joined later, but yeah.
Yeah.
My buddy in the film, he went to Prince's church building,
right?
The Kingdom Hall,
Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Diane, I'm excited to see your, the future of where your film goes. It's like pretty exciting. I always feel like this is the end. Like we got to the film festivals, that's it, and people keep telling me like this is just the beginning. So we'll see.
Right. So I just got my 32nd film festival yesterday.
Wow. That's a lot.
And there's still 10 more for my circuit. Now, I won't be pushing the film festival circuit anymore. I just wanted to be accepted by LA and Portland. Those are the 2. I said, if Portland can recognize what Obo had done and what my intention was in honoring him for his service in the community and what he wanted to do by incorporating hip hop, then the job is going to be done. I will have taken care of it like I told him.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that there were going to be 30 other film festivals that say, hey, we like that. I like that, as Obo would say. Right. So it's great. Diane,
congratulations.
Congratulations to you, bro. I'm going to come see you. You're only 15 minutes away. I'm getting in the car and and driving
get a
straight
coffee
to
or
you.
a drink or some food or something. Let's just
right. That's right. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
So say something to Diane.
I was going to tell her that this is the greatest. This is definitely the greatest workshop ever. You couldn't have picked a more peas in the pod filmmaker, Siamese twin crew than me and Scott.
Yeah, this is
Perfect.
fun. Yeah, it worked really well.
Right.
It's because we played trivia at the Portland Film Festival and we created a bond that will live forever.
Exactly. Exactly. But you ended up taking the devil horns off, so I felt uncomfortable when I first saw you today. Okay, there we go. Boom. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, guys, and thank you for joining us today. Please check out both of these films at portlandfilm.org.
Thanks, Ann.